That's the important.
This meeting is being streamed.
Oh. Okay. We're being streamed.
I'm sorry if that was me. I don't know. Hey, Rick, just looking forward, it looks like February is the only conflict on that. At least as far as the, as far out as we have C forums planned yet. That's the only conflict till summer. Yeah.
Well, what about December 4th next year would probably be a conflict.
Probably, but we haven't set the C forum schedule that far out.
Oh, it's a Friday.
Wednesday this year.
Should we move it to a Wednesday?
We don't have it in December usually, right?
We do. I don't think we have a set date for it yet.
Well, we typically, C forum has always been the first Friday, and that would be October 7th is not a conflict. So it's just the February meeting and if we wanted, so I would propose, if there's none, that we move going to December 2020, move that to Wednesday, December 2nd, far enough in advance that my calendar is pretty open. So, and to move the February 7th, February 2020 meeting, either to the 5th or the 6th, if there is, of February, which would be a Wednesday or a Thursday, same week. Just it wouldn't conflict with that, which I know impacts some of our members. Laura, would there be a better day for you? Thursday's better?
Thursdays are easier for me.
Okay.
Wednesdays are always hard.
February 6th.
That works for me.
2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
So our next meeting will be Thursday, February 6th in 2020. And then I think from there, the rest of the calendar does not have any conflicts because C-Forum doesn't meet in June or August. And the retreat in April is, if there's a retreat, that it will be in that day. So
We need a motion.
this is what we need a motion on. Okay, so the changes are February will be moved to February 6th, and December will be moved to, we can move that to the 3rd if that's better for you.
In December?
Yeah.
I will tell you. That's pretty far out, so that doesn't matter as much, but Wednesdays are always really hard for me.
Let's move it to the 3rd.
2020.
The December meeting will be December 3rd, not December 2nd, December 3rd. So the dates again will be February 6th, April 24th for a possible retreat. That will be up to the board to determine that. June 5th, August 7th, October 9th, and December 3rd. I need a motion, entertain a motion to accept the dates, the 2020 dates for the Advisory Council.
I'll move that motion that we do that.
Okay, thank you. Shelley's made the motion for that. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Scott. Scott said the second. All those in favor of the proposed calendar, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the dates are set. I'll have those ready for the board meeting next week so they know when we're meeting.
Hey, Tim's excited to introduce himself. He's here.
Oh, okay, Tim.
Hi. Sorry. Nice being here. Sorry, I had to run over from school because apparently we blocked the IVCs in the district again. So,
Well, I'm sure.
I represent the CTE teachers for the advisory board, and I'm at Canyon View High School.
And what do you teach at Canyon View?
I teach pretty much all the technology and engineering courses that we have here. So it's all the CAD stuff, Engineering 1010 or Principles of Engineering, electronics, robotics, manufacturing principles, sometimes woods, sometimes cabinet making. So that's about it.
In addition to.
And in addition to Tim that just joined us, we have two other people that just joined us. We'll let them introduce themselves once they get sat in their chairs. Oh, we got a couple online too.
Apologies, I'm Tiffany Hall at the Salt Lake City School District.
Marie Erickson at the State Library.
Thank you, thank you. And I think we have two more that may have joined us online. If you did not introduce yourself, would you please do so?
This is Kelly Cole. I'm on the phone.
Okay. I think that might be.
Yeah, Tom Cheatham from Everything Research is on the phone too.
Tom Cheatham.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Okay. Well, our next item of business is an activity for us, and I'm going to turn the time over to Laura to introduce this and our presenters that will be here with us, and what the genesis for this activity, and then we'll move forward into that activity. And
Thanks. Well, we're kind of excited for this part of the advisory council meeting. Some of you, I know this is your first meeting with us, so thank you and welcome. And the purpose of the advisory council is to provide input to the board and to staff on the strategic directions that we're headed, and also be a conduit to the constituent groups that you represent, so that we're hearing what their needs are and you're able to also take information to them. And so we have, we're getting toward the end of the year, as you all know. We have an annual report that, as a public broadcaster, we're required to provide to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. It's called the Local Content and Services Report. And as we've been making our plans for that, we thought it would be really helpful to get input from you about how we present ourselves and the work that we've done over the past year. Also, I think you all know our legislative request that was approved by the board includes funding for the piece of software that we're going to be using called Nearpod. And we have two experts from the UEN Professional Development Department here, Jared Fossen and Danny Sloan, who will be leading us through that activity. And then I'll just also add, so Nearpod initially was a K-12 product, and they just launched a higher ed version of Nearpod. So it would be helpful to get some feedback on the tool itself, and then also the questions about the annual report that we're going to be asking you. So thanks in advance. I'll turn it over to you.
All right. I'm going to get my screen shared with everyone. Can everyone see that okay?
mm-hmm.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take you through this activity utilizing Nearpod so you can see what it's like, so we can get your feedback that way. One thing that's really nice about it is, as you can see, we're going to all be participating in the same activity, even though a lot of us are online and some of us are in person. So it's really nice if you're having asynchronous classes, students can go through it at their own pace, or if they're just homesick, they can join the lesson live and still go through the instructions. So what I'm going to have you do is, on a device, it can be the device that you're connected with, open a new tab and go to nearpod.com. Or you can also use a cell phone, an iPad, anything you'd like. So you'll go to nearpod.com, and then there is a little box at the top that'll say enter a code, and the code is DIXOM. Oh yeah, case sensitivity does not matter, luckily, so you don't have to switch your cell phone into all caps. And then just put in your name so we know whose input we are getting here.
Could you say that again, the code?
Yes, absolutely. It's DIXOM. And the code will still show up once we start the presentation. It's up in the left-hand corner if for some reason you get popped out or accidentally closed the window or anything. All right, I'm gonna have Jared Fossen tell you a bit about how teachers are using Nearpod.
Right. So you're seeing on this slide, this is Bluff Ridge Elementary and Davis School District, and they became the first Nearpod certified school in the state. And I think a majority of their faculty, you can see one of the images on there, they all have certificates. Majority of their faculty is all Nearpod certified, and you know, kind of a neat thing that we actually have an entire school that's Nearpod certified in the state. Let's move on. This is from Granite School District, West Valley Elementary. This is an image of students who have gone through the digital citizenship course that Nearpod offers, and they are taking the pledge to be responsible digital citizens. And just some statistics for you. Since we've really been using Nearpod in the state since the start of July of last year until just now, the 1st of November, you can see we've had 17 million interactions using Nearpod. There's been over 160,000 lessons taught, 3,617,000 student joins, and over 1,500,000 hours of use. And then that last statistic is 4.75 interactions per student per lesson. So lots of use. I think one thing that we've noticed is teachers have really liked this tool, and they've just gotten involved with it right from the beginning. And you know, we hear more and more that students are using it, that teachers have adopted it. And the nice thing for us is it's really intuitive, and you don't need a lot of training on it. Like you can get in there and figure it out pretty quick.
It's nice because teachers can take slides that they already have, put them into Nearpod, and then survey their students and get results. They can take quizzes, just more interaction between the instructor and the students in the class.
So we know how many schools this represents? Just out of curiosity.
I
mean, these numbers, A, are astounding, but B, I mean, for a business case, this is pretty, you know.
I think maybe about 20% of the schools, K-12 schools, none of the higher ed institutions are using it yet.
That's pretty astounding.
And we do have a statewide license for this infrastructure product, but we're hoping to have the license fees paid by the state after the legislative session.
Iron and Miller SCDC region has purchased it.
So what does statewide license provide? I mean, all of us get
It's based on every K-12 school.
cool, because I just budgeted for it, so that's money I just
So
got back.
this is one of those products that's like a freemium product. Like, oh, you can do a lot of the stuff for free, but the paid version just gives you a lot more options.
So is this the paid version, or does my district still need to kick in on top of that because we have that?
No, if it's funded by the legislature, it would be nothing. But
We're going to give you
right
that
now,
money
that
back,
would
we
be.
hope. You can use it for something else.
And those of you that aren't in an education setting, it's also a great way to make your staff meetings a little more lively, which I did with the last staff meeting with my whole group, and 2 people said that was the best staff meeting ever. So it's a high bar now.
It's not going to get any better than that.
Yeah, and you'll see as we go through this, we've put some of these activities in so you can see how interactive it'll be.
Do you want to talk about notes?
Oh yes. So I'm going to show you, this should look more like your screen right now. So there's 2 ways you can run an Nearpod. You can run it as a live version, and you can run it as student paced. So with the student paced, students can, you know, certainly move on and go back whenever they need to. In the live version, like we're doing right now, we do control the temperature in the room, and we decide when your screen changes. So up in the top right, you'll notice that there's this pen or a pencil and pad. When you select that, you will be able to take notes. And there's 2 really nice things about taking notes. One of them is it will send it either to your email or your Google or OneDrive, whichever account that you use there, and you will have all the notes and the entire presentation. And so I think whether you're using this in a staff meeting or teachers using it in a class, like it is a fantastic way for students to take notes as they're going through the presentation. So that does add to the interactivity, but the fact that they get the whole presentation as well, like that's really great. So we would encourage you that as you go through this, if you want to take notes, just use that little pad and paper and select which way you want them to be sent to you.
Okay, so now we're going to do a little icebreaker with you. I want you to think about all the places that you've lived within the state of Utah and beyond, and what you're going to do is you are going to put it on a map, and we'll be able to see what everyone puts. So you should have a little slide of the state of Utah. Do your best to put a little star on there anywhere you've lived in the state, and then if you've lived outside of the state, put a little star on the United States, and then you can also put a little star on the globe if you have spent time outside of the country living.
How do you make a star? I know how to make a star, but I'm afraid my
So all you need to do is you'll click on the pen, and then you can choose whatever color, very exciting, and then you'll put a little star wherever it is that you've lived.
You lived in the ocean.
Yes, I lived in the ocean.
For reference, I'm hoping that my star.
My star was pretty pathetic.
Well, I'm hoping that mine is actually over Salt Lake, so if it's not, then we all just.
And
Well,
Wolf
actually,
Island.
point of the mountain, right? So I'm trying to figure out where point of the mountain is. This is a geography test, Rick. I wasn't prepared for this.
I'm sorry. We
I
didn't
am
let Rick
from
know that there would be a
California. We
quiz.
don't do geography very well in California. It's like
One
a
thing to
statewide
note,
issue.
when you're finished, click the blue submit button, because then it'll let us know that you are finished.
Can you turn the globe? How do you
No,
Yeah, you
just
can.
put a little mark on it so we know.
Okay, well, I live somewhere in the ocean, but in between the picture I can't see too. So,
Nonetheless.
We recognize that accuracy isn't
That is A-okay,
perfect with
yeah.
this.
So, from the teacher view, I can see what everyone has submitted, and if I'd like, and I can hide student names, so I can block out your names, but I don't want to right now because we're gonna chat about it. So I can see, I'm gonna click on Rick's, and you'll be able to see Rick's. So he put a big star over like the Salt Lake Valley, and then where else did you live, Rick?
Italy,
Italy. What part?
southern part.
Very cool. Tiffany, yours looks very similar to Katie Blunt's.
To whose?
Katie's.
Oh, good. Katie, I hope you live in Lehigh, because that's where I meant to put that star.
Well, she had California and Utah.
Oh, and California,
right?
excellent.
Did I miss anywhere, Katie? All right, Tim has a couple of dots down in the southern part of the state. And if I want you to see it on your screen, I can click the share button, and then you're going to see our C's pop up on your screen.
Oh, okay.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move on. And now we have a board where you're going to be able to post. So when you think of UEN, we want you to post 3 adjectives that come to mind.
Do we put all 3 in the same line or post 3 separately?
Great question, Clint. All 3 in the same line is just fine. Katie put an image.
You get bonus points for using images.
Got Shelly's and Tiffany's and Greg's. RC's, LB, and Leslie.
So you're approving it before it goes.
Yeah, I put that I wanted to approve it because I didn't know what kind of inappropriate things Clint would post. So
Never know.
there's always one. I actually didn't mean to do that, but yes, you can approve before you post for the whole group to see.
Super good strategy for middle school.
Right? They'll try anything once.
That's right.
You'll notice there is a little trash can icon on our screen. It won't be on your screen, and we can delete any comments up there that we want to.
Does it have a profanity filter?
Oh.
Well, let's find out.
I don't think so.
Danny's the filter.
I'm the filter right now. I think Katie should be our filter though. Okay. So, looking over your responses, I see a lot of the same answers, and I love that. Words like innovative, informative, collaborative, supportive. Thank you, those are lovely. I can also go through and I can give a little heart, like we give a like on Facebook or Twitter, and students can do that as well. So they can kind of give the thumbs up to their peers in the class. All right, we'll go on to the next activity now. So what we're going to do now is we are going to have you match the UETN service with the initiative. So what's showing on your screen are a bunch of cards, and you'll click on them. So if we thought Research Backbone went with Preschool Pioneer, it'll tell me no. So this is just a little warm-up activity to get your brains going, remind you of the services that UEN has. And then I can see, oh, Danny and Jared have 0 for 6 in one try. And again, I can hide those student names so everyone can feel comfortable to try as many times as they need to.
All right, I gotta try to.
You can do it, Rick.
Well, I've got to get rid of this box. Maybe that's.
Oh, slide it up. Yep. There's a little. If your screen looks like this, there's a little blue arrow.
There it goes.
Yep. If you tap on that.
Saw the one arrow, but didn't see the other arrow.
Some people just gave up, it looks like.
They're just like, no.
I'm waiting for like the.
So then I can see once you get it right, you turn bold. And then on the teacher side, I can see how many tries it took.
Some of us are just trying anything to match.
We have no clue. Well, the best you can do is 6 tries.
Yes.
Well,
So
it took me
someone did do
22.
it, and that is, I'm pretty impressed. There's a couple who got, oh no, I think just one. One did.
Whoop whoop.
That,
Yeah, and I just did what the students often do. Even when you turn off the names, they're like, "That's me."
he's always the overachiever. All right. Thank you for playing. So we can view the pairs. So if you're still working, here you go. The network has our research backbone. One of our applications is Preschool Pioneer. In sustainability, we look at our E-rate filing, telehealth, connectivity, professional development, and the endorsements that we offer. And then our broadcast team has Sci-Fi Friday.
I love Sci-Fi Friday.
Okay, so we're going to ask you for some advice on our annual report, and then Laura, if you want to jump in at any time, feel free to.
Sure.
You want to make sure. Sure. So this is from the 2018 annual report. So what we're going to do is show you a series of images. There's going to be 4 of them, and then on the final screen, you're going to do the activity with it. So here's our first image. Which type of image evokes the feeling that you want Utahns to have about UEN? So there's the arch. And we've got kids working together. And we've got our older students and diversity. And then using devices. So those are our 4 images. And then on this screen, what you'll be able to do is circle the one that you think best represents what you would like people to think about when they hear UEN. And then remember, you do have to hit the submit after you circle.
Oh, we're supposed to circle it.
Or put a star in it. We'll figure out which one you mark.
You can put a heart around it. Just have to mark it somewhere.
This is really helpful because every year we think, what focus should we have? Because we have beautiful landscapes in Utah, but we also have great photos of our work in action. So just to kind of set the overall look and feel for our annual report, this input is helpful.
Okay, ads are coming in.
I can guess which constituent group they represent. Based on what they shows.
I was gonna say it doesn't look like consistency.
No.
I mean, there's no.
No, it is
no
all over.
consensus.
No, like the one that circled everybody.
So that's good feedback too, though, to do.
These are all great images.
Yes, exactly.
I was more literal and only followed the one option there, but there's like 2.
It is the tricky thing when there's 4 and you like all 4.
That's when you start getting out multiple devices.
Yeah.
And I have seen
Get
kids
extra
do
voice,
that in
yeah.
class. Yeah, like they'll have their phone, their iPad, and so if it's a vote thing, teachers like,
That's clever.
So
We have 32 students today.
That's right.
Thank you, class of 23.
We'll take all this to the team.
And the nice thing from when you make your own Nearpod, you get all of the reports back from this. So after we're done, like we get all of the data back and we can sort through it really nicely. So it's not just a one-time thing as we're going through it. That's the only time we're going to see these. Okay, we're going to move on. So from other annual reports.
So I'll jump in. So these are other nonprofit organizations. None of these are in Utah and none of them are us. But it's more just the visual concept of which you think would have the most impact. And also, they're screen grabs, so I know you're not going to be able to read the content. It's more of the layout that you're looking for. Yeah, the visual impression that it gives.
Right. So here's some timelines. And then if you will just circle the images of the layout that you like.
And remember to click submit.
Yes. That's the nice thing.
Staff meetings from here on
I'm
out.
like, I don't care about your little.
Stay out of the weeds.
Wow. Well, those are some pretty consistent responses. Thank you. Anyone want to comment why you selected that one?
Well, to me, overall, it had less text,
Okay.
so it was easier to follow.
It was a visual graphic more than it was.
Okay.
I'm not even sure it has less text. It just looks that way because
Well,
it's
that's,
more white
yeah,
space.
that was,
more
I was going to
open
say that
dots,
it
yeah.
may
It's
not
more
have less
user-friendly.
text, but it just,
Yeah.
the
And
way
then I like
easier
the
to
pictures.
follow.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
I can see the progress of time better in that one. Anyway.
That's helpful.
Yeah, it looks like most everybody picked the same one. Okay. So this is impact data. And you've got the 2 on there. So again, it looks like most people are picking the same one on this.
The infographic one on the right.
So that's going to be this one. Not the United Way one. Do we want to ask if somebody's
I happened to choose the one that was, the United Way one only because I knew who was doing it.
Like having the logo in the
brand.
center.
The brand of it, this is us.
That's a good point.
That is a good point.
Granted that the numbers looked a little bigger on the other one, but this is us. And that's,
Maybe there's a way
To kind of incorporate.
right.
Yeah,
If they had done
there's
that,
certainly a way to do both. Even the pattern around with the logo, but still using the graphics to catch attention. That's what I liked about the right one.
I think we've become more app visual, and those remind me more of apps. You're selecting something and seeing them individually like an app.
But it is nice to tie it back to the one.
Message.
Good feedback. Okay, so on budgets, we're going to look at these two.
And you can hide the results, right? So if you want to have blind voting where they aren't influenced by other people, you can do that.
Yeah, I can just leave this up.
So you can see that they're coming in.
What's nice too is you don't even need to project this because you have it on your device and everyone else has it on their devices. So even if you don't have a common screen, you can have everyone pop in on their cell phones or whatever device they have in front of them. And it's nice because you can be anywhere in the room and just click next.
or in our case, anywhere in the state.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the amazing part about
Or
this.
in summary, so
Yeah.
you can see the summary of how people voted when you do it this way, or is that just with the other ways?
No, you can do it. You can see the summary.
So it looks like most people pick the graph.
Now, if you're a financial person, you'd want the one on the right for
Right,
sure.
absolutely.
But if you're a visual dashboard person, that's what I lean towards on the left.
No, the word dashboard, I agree. I think that's what a lot of what we see when we look at our dashboards is an image a lot like that.
My concern with the one on the left is if people don't like whatever your largest spending area is, then they use that as a tool against you. Why are you putting all of your money in this, right? And so that's, I have gotten nailed on that before.
Considering our largest spending item is internet services for all y'all, I think that wouldn't be.
Yeah, so but I mean, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
If they think
It
that
draws
all-
more attention.
I just didn't know what that big one was gonna be,
Got
because
it.
whatever the big one is gonna be what people go, oh, no, wait a minute, what is that?
That's good.
It's very
So
obvious.
if it's, so if that's the thing you want them to see, if that's your driver, then I would edit my thing and go back to the left. It just depends on what your driver
Right.
is.
Good point.
My dad used to always say, the budget will tell your story and your
That's
priorities.
exactly right. And so that's, I mean, it really does.
He was the accountant in the family.
Okay, leader letter.
So I think you all know at most annual reports, and ours as well, has a welcome to our annual report letter from the leaders of the organization.
The one on the left is what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, do you want to say more?
That's exactly when I looked at it, I'm like, I see that all the time. This is new and different, and I like the idea that it's more visual. And it seems more about a story than just here I am telling you what I think.
To me, one is leader-centric and the other is organization-centric.
Yeah, I like the mission statement. That's not necessarily about the leader saying, here's who I am. It's about our organization saying, this is what we're about.
That's great, yeah. And then the image, I noticed a lot of people circled the image of their rafters. I mean, that fits with what their organization does, so some sort of image that shows what the organization is about. Yeah. Helpful.
All right, so now we are going to look at past publications that are from UEN, and we'd like you to give your feedback on how we could improve those. So this first one, it has a past annual report, and considering that this is for community members, circle anything that you see as effective, and then draw an X through anything you feel might be ineffective. So scribble out anything that you don't like and circle the things that you do, and then remember to go ahead and click submit.
So it isn't possible in Nearpod for me to use my
Yeah,
zoom in. Right?
Yeah, you can't zoom in, but we'll show you on a later slide that if we have an open-ended question, we can put in some images to make it easier and to give students something to reference.
Do we have most of them in?
Yeah, go ahead.
So it looks to me like the graphics at the bottom, most people like that, and that's consistent with the prior question, so that's helpful. We really wondered about the ratio of text to the image, and so I can see, yeah, that's helpful. And it looks like the headlines were, most of you circled the headlines, so maybe more emphasis on that and being careful about how we write that.
Yeah, those relate back. I think, the graphics at the bottom, and granted, we're only seeing screenshots here, but those need to be increased, and whatever's in the text probably needs to be put into graphics or an infographic. And the big image on the side, it takes up a lot of real estate, but it doesn't.
It's too big. Yeah,
It takes up a lot of real estate, but the other image, the smaller image, actually does sort of hit the mission of what UEN's about, whether we're that we're technology.
Scott said it doesn't have much impact, and I will tell you, I agree. That's the only image in our annual report last year that was staged. All the other ones were in action, so it feels artificial to us too, and that's interesting to hear. It kind of comes across that way.
I put a question mark at the bottom on the graphs, and I think I'm echoing what Rick said. I just can't see them, but I'm guessing it's really good data. I'm guessing that's what I wanted to see.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Increase their size and anything in the text that could be shown in a graphic.
And anyone else that's on a web meeting, any feedback on that?
Good comments, yeah, we agree.
I just felt like it needed more white space. It just seemed like there was a lot of information.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
I think that coupled with what Shelley said about in the newsletter having it be the storytelling. So that's the storytelling piece, and then the rest is shown with infographics or graphs.
Yep.
Awesome. All All right. So next up, this is a piece from the annual report detailing the services provided by UEN. So we are going to have an open-ended question. How could this be improved? And on your screen, you'll see that you can click or tap on the image if you'd like to look at it again for reference, and then click the little X out, and then you'll just type into the text box, and then click the blue submit.
And just to clarify, this is from our information booklet that Ray usually uses with members of the legislature and others. So the goal here was to try and help other people know what the scope of our many services, kind of like our service catalog. But I think it's a lot of text.
You think?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm interested to hear how you think it could be improved.
Participation percentage.
So nice for meetings or with classes, so you know when it's okay to move on. 90% now.
I'll start. You're not.
I went through and said there was a lot of text. I went and edited my comment because I was adding a lot of text.
That's good.
Oh, meta.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Well said.
I like this idea. Make sure to press the submit button if you're finished. Just changed. Okay. So one thing you'll see is if I click share on my screen, that answer that I clicked to share will come up on everyone's screen. So we can read what our peers in the class input, and then discuss. Is there anything from anyone in the group that you'd like to share out specifically?
You know, one thing that impressed me is you started to use Nearpod. The statistics about it really drove home what an impact Nearpod is having in schools. And I go back and I look at this and what UETN does obviously is far more reaching than just Nearpod. But like I don't see, would it be amazing to say we connect this many locations, you know, some heavy hitting key indicators rather than having me need to go in and read about it. Give me some, I know other people said some infographics, but particularly for legislators, I don't know that they're going to spend time reading through all this. Right. But if you could say, you know, we've connected so many locations. We have this much bandwidth on our network. We supply this many applications. You know, when I go to the board to talk to what we're doing in IT, I really try to help them see the breadth and the depth, but I've got to do it really quickly. And I think you're trying to show us the breadth and the depth. I think we have to really dig in to see that.
That's great.
Good feedback.
Let me change your comment. I think we're trying to tell you without showing.
Yeah.
So to echo what Scott is saying, my comment was to think, because I love what you said earlier about the picture with the rafts that tells the story, and how do you have your pictures tell that story throughout there. But I also think, what if you could tell that story thematically? So as you go through, this is how this particular service, here's the summary of the service, whatever it is. Here's how it affects students or adults or communities or the health professions. And so that if I was a legislator who was really interested in what does this do for students, I could read across that level, that story. And then if I was really interested in how it was meeting my community's needs, I could read across that story.
That's great.
You know, and that way, depending on what I was interested in, I could read that story, even if I didn't care about the student piece or I didn't care about the healthcare piece. I could, you know, flip through it and have my photograph or my picture that's leading me through each initiative, and my icons that are leading me through the story with the visuals that tell me how big they are, how many they are, what's the rate of change in this area. That's one of the things I'm always interested in statewide as you look at the state. You know, where are things big? Where are they changing? Where have we pushed in our initiatives? And where are we moving in the initiative? Because I think that's a really interesting way to look at the Wasatch Front, as our friend Scott from Millard used to call it, the Wasatch Rear. You know, like how do you look at both sides of this story? Because Utah is a state of two tales, and how do you bring that together? You know, two cities, two states, two sides.
It's one of the things we do in IT with our RISE mission, is we incorporate every one of our goals and our initiatives into whether it falls in RIS or E.
Yes.
And we do that visually in our annual report and in our initiatives at the beginning, what our strategic goals are going to be.
Yeah.
So same
So that way if somebody's like really interested in the E.
I care about security, whereas all the things that are more secure.
And I'm like, hey, just don't steal my credit card. Tell me about the I. Yeah.
Any other feedback out from TV land?
Okay. So next up, we have the UETN infrastructure map, and we're going to have you do the same thing to give feedback on that map. And again, you can tap on the image if you'd like to look at it a little more up close at your screen. As you finish your answer, remember to click submit.
Sounds like most people in this room have finished.
Yeah.
I don't hear clicking anymore.
I was in a meeting the other day and everyone in the room was like, well, if we could hear over Shelley typing, and I'm like, I blame it on the tactile keyboard on the room.
That's right. Somebody shot me a text from across the room the other day. They're like, are you angry or just typing? And I'm like,
Scale it back. All right, a lot of positive feedback on this image.
Maybe 10 more seconds if you haven't submitted, because I see there's a lot that haven't submitted. And I want to make sure we get your feedback, so. Nearly there.
Is the one on the website up to date? Like for the, I know for the fiber project down in Blanding and stuff like that, is how up to date is that?
Yeah, it's usually just remade once a year around the beginning of the legislative session.
Yeah, that's fair.
Any other comments or feedback?
The only, and I put it, I mean, I've always liked the infographic because it shows how every part of the state is touched by it. But it might be nice, but we don't, I mean, we see the current state, but we don't really realize where we've come from. And so having older maps available, or some
Even
kind
the
of
smaller ones
and I
next
put in
to
there
it.
some kind of some kind of a video that sort of shows the morphing between them.
GIF of
You know.
like what it looked like and then
What it
go
was
through.
5 years ago to what we are today,
Yeah.
because that shows
Yeah,
how the
rate of
capacity
change.
has increased. But even some of the areas of the state that were not really touched, I mean,
One of the things that I love the history idea. I've been meeting with UEN to talk about how we can change our network in that direction that you guys want to go in. I think that's an important story as well, as it's not just the past, but you guys are trying to build out for the future. And this doesn't necessarily tell where you want to go as well. And I think that's
Right.
important. It's a snapshot. And then I'll just quickly say this. I am colorblind. I love this map, but it is really hard for me to be able to tell the different legs.
Pattern
Great
distinction.
Yeah,
Because it's color.
great point.
So
So one thing that I was thinking, because I love maps like this too, but it would be nice if you're using this map in a annual report or somewhere, if you're talking about some specific improvement in the state, if you pulled out a part and had it like a bubble exploded piece that says in more detail, this is where we've improved, or this is where we're working, or this is our next on our agenda. But you could tell that it was like a pullout from the map, a close up. I think that would help tie it back to the map.
So if I could give some feedback on this map. This map is where the legislators stop. I've been in several meetings where there's been presentations, and this is the map where they stop, because this is what they want to know and what they want to get answers on. And it leads to the discussion that really makes it that the legislators want to keep funding and putting money for upgrades and improvements. And so this map is the discussion point. And so while I think there's some areas that it could be improved, just don't think that you have to rework this one so much that it ruins it.
right, good point.
Well, and they're used to seeing it.
I think it's ways to try to figure ways to improve it or to add additional information, maybe on another page. I mean,
But the problem is if you make it too busy and too confusing and too many things, you lose the benefit of what this map is really showing.
Good point.
the thing I had added was, like the timeline with those call out pictures. So like if there was something brand new, like I don't know what you could build, like a tower or something.
dark fiber.
A dark fiber, yeah, whatever. Is that like the dark net?
Sorry.
Okay, well, you like have a little, like, do you one of those little round things that would say, this is new this year, and here's a picture of whatever is new that year. But again, my concern was yours, is that, does that make it too busy, is it too hard to read?
Good points.
So we were talking, we were wondering if we would break it down into like legislative sections and blow it up on a separate page so they could look at it that way.
Our legislative districts, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And also, we do have this online as a static PDF, but there's nothing that says we can't put something a little more interactive together. And
Online.
maybe that's right.
The book, is probably perfect for the book.
Right.
Or maybe some minor, things like this is the new stuff this year.
Right.
So they can see that. But I think online you could make it a lot more information.
Maybe using ThingLink to put some dots where information could come out when you press on the link.
When you hover over.
Oh, yeah.
More information.
That would be
I
good.
think that was Tony. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So this is a multiple choice question or a poll. And the question is, what message about UEN's programs and projects is most likely to appeal to the stakeholders that you represent? We have, come over here, roadshow tour engaging rural communities, getting to work with American Graduate, expanding UETN programming with a new channel.
Is American Graduate.
That's the kind of feedback we need.
Yeah.
Should I know what that is? Do I know what that
It's
is?
a college and career planning grant that we work on with a lot of our partners.
Okay. K-12.
Yes.
Secondary.
It's CTE focused, so
Is
it
it
crosses.
future ready?
It goes from high school to the UCAT college
Yeah.
or the UTEC colleges.
So it's a CTE. I should know what that is.
So you'll go ahead and select the letter, and then as always you need to remember to submit. And on the teacher side, you'll see I get instant feedback on who selected what, and then that nice little graph on the left-hand side that shows what percentage is voting where. So right now, a third haven't voted, a third say roadshow for engaging rural communities, and getting to work with AmGrad.
75%.
Yeah.
And these are headlines from last year's annual report that we actually used, so this is helpful. Is there a clear winner, or is it?
Yes, roadshow.
Okay.
Second place, getting to work with AmGrad, and no votes for expanding UETN programming. Okay. So the next up is an open-ended question. What would you like the community to know about the role UEN plays in Utah? So for the group that you represent, what do you think they need to know? These sessions be recorded, so they can be played back. So if you do a student-paced one, anyone can go through it at any time, and then the teacher just collects the feedback. So I wouldn't even need to be guiding it on my own. I could just send everyone a link, and you could participate asynchronously. But as far as like recording voice, if that's what you're looking for, you could record the session like a screencast, and then provide a link, I guess. It's either like
that you're doing wouldn't be recorded.
right. I mean, it could in a screencast, but I think it's better if you put the information up front. You can also link in other things like web pages or video. Okay. just another minute, make sure you press submit.
Hi, this is Laura Banda.
Yeah, hi Laura.
Hi, I just need to leave the meeting. I need to attend to a student matter. I apologize.
No, thank you very much for your participation.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you, I think we just have a couple more questions.
Almost finished. I think the rest are related.
We're nearly there, and we
Reaching
will
out.
finish early.
Yes. Okay, go ahead and click submit because I'm going to move on.
All right, so this one requires a little bit of a story. So the other reason that we have an advisory council, it's in state law that we have an advisory council, and we are also required to have a community advisory board because we're a public broadcaster. So the idea is you are receiving public money and you're using a public resource by putting content over the airwaves. And so you need to hear from your constituents about the use of that, that infrastructure. So we currently have 4 broadcast channels that are all public TV channels. The main one, 9.1, is educational content. Then we have MHC Worldview and FNX, which is First Nations Experience, programs by and about Native Americans. And then our newest channel is the NHK World Japan, that is an English language channel that originates in Japan. So it has news and technology and those kind of mostly news type programs. So we just received a notice that the MHC Worldview channel is going away, which, yeah, thank you, big X. So we have the bandwidth and we would like some feedback on what we should do with that. So what would you like to see, or what would you recommend there is more of? So
what we're going to have you do is circle anything that you would like to see fill that programming space. You can also click on the 2 T's if you'd like to type in something that's not on there. So circle the things that you're most interested in. Do you have a limit that you'd like?
Nope.
Them? Okay, so do what you will with this slide and then click submit.
Is this me personally or me representing my constituents?
That's a good question.
probably your constituents.
Oh, okay.
Could be both, because this is also a leisure activity. It's meant to be.
So low-level questions.
I'm not sure if you all heard that question from Tiffany. Is this you personally or the constituent group that you represent? And I think it's both. Part of the mission of public broadcasting is to provide high quality leisure time activities. And so if you want to do it as personally versus the group that you represent, that's still valuable feedback for us.
I don't know that I quite understand. I know how to get to the UEN channel, but what's 9.1, 9.2?
Digital channels. So you have to have a digital over-the-air TV. 9.2, 3, and 4.
And so there's no way to get them if you don't actually have a TV.
They are on cable. Oh, if you don't have a TV? No.
Well, I mean, like, if you just have like the Hulu TV.
That's me, I just have Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix.
Or Amazon.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a,
So
you just need
you
an
have to
antenna.
spring for a $30 antenna and stick it on the outside of your house.
That's why I read
No, I
books.
mean, that's,
It really doesn't even have to be the outside, does it?
You can just put it,
I mean,
stick it in the
window.
window. Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
I got
It's
it.
like a little.
If we're on the Wasatch Front, it doesn't need to be outside, but down here, we kind of need to put it on the house.
No.
Yeah, there's kind of a joke going around broadcast circles because that's free over-the-air digital broadcast. And I'll just tell the story as you're finishing up. There were some people that were out instructing members of their community of how to get TV, get an antenna. You get 100 or so channels. They're all local channels, and it was a kind of a college age group that they were talking to, and the students, what? There's free TV? no way, is this legal what you're telling us to do? And we just thought it was great. So we often say it's free wireless TV.
I saw a meme recently with Disney Plus coming out because there's all these streaming services, and it was like someone needs to combine all of these streaming services and reinvent cable again.
Yeah.
But at a much lower price.
Exactly. My son-in-law signed up for Disney Plus, and then like a week later got a notice that someone leaked all the passwords to Disney Plus, so he had to go in and change them.
Oh
I mean, Disney Plus wasn't hacked, but other hacks have happened, and people have used the same password on Disney Plus.
So that's how they got in.
Interesting.
Digital security.
Have we heard from most everybody? Yes. Great, thank you. Anyone want to say anything about that besides just circling items?
Well, I always liked the image. I'm sad to hear that it's going away because it was sort of that other international perspective that I think in our world today, everybody needs to be able to see things from multiple things. So if you can replace it with something that's like that, yes.
International.
That it filled a niche.
It really, it was just, you would hear news story. You get so only hearing, you don't really realize how much media coverage here is
Trump.
well, just narrow. We only see so much, and you think, oh, we have access. Oh, we only see so much. And by having these other places, like, well, I think the Japan station, NHK is another example of that. You see things from a different perspective. It just is important.
Anyone else?
You don't want to say we don't want to say we have propaganda here, but we have propaganda here.
It certainly comes from a perspective, seen from outside perspectives.
And by hearing it from another perspective, it puts some things into better context, or this is not such a big deal because they don't think it's a very big deal, obviously. Anyway.
And anyone else want to comment on that one?
No, just no more politics. That's why I scribbled it out in red. So.
No more politics. Duly noted.
All right, the next group of questions is going to be for your preferences for you on how we contact you, how we share information with you. So this will be your preferences. So the first one is, how could UETN be better about engaging you? And it is another open-ended question. And there's just this slide and one more after it.
think about 20 seconds more, so I don't want to rush you, but if you haven't clicked submit, I think we're nearly there.
Is there anything that anyone would like to share out with the group to discuss?
Yeah, when I was thinking about this, and it's sort of highlighted by two things in just the last couple of days. I mean, we get together every other month as a committee in that, but it would be nice just to have highlights of things that are going on at UEN. I think would help to keep us better informed. But it's just two things that came out this week. There was an article in the Salt Lake Tribune on the rural fiber project, but probably none of us knew about that. If somebody hadn't to send it out to me in an email, I wouldn't have known about it. And then the group at UEN and Murray District that went to the supercomputing conference, they did a presentation on LTE. Got best presentation of show there. And if somebody hadn't sent that, but these are the kinds of things I think as advisory council members would be helpful for us just to know as we come. Sort of in the interim. And it could be just like once a month.
Celebration emails or something.
Just once a month. The things that UEN's been doing, and you highlight a lot of things on your main page. But how often do we go to the page to look at that? And as advisory council members, just having that push to us a little bit more, would help me.
And I was thinking about that, and I thought, how would I want that push?
Yeah, that was my follow-on.
I don't go to because you're right. I don't go to the webpage, and I just write flat out. Will admit I'm so inundated by email. But what I love is I love it if it was an Instagram, because when I'm tired, I see the picture and then I'm like, hey, there it is. There's the story. And I think I caught the Murray story because somebody put it on Twitter. But Twitter is where I go when I'm still having some energy and it works.
I might hear you.
And so then I thought, well, maybe I just haven't looked, but I just checked.
But some ways to push something.
So we do have an Instagram account.
Yeah, I just don't know what it is then.
I will tell you what it is.
The story about
that's how I want
UEN's team. If you've been to that supercomputing conference, that's no small task. But that's like the geek fest of the world.
You're talking about the SafeCon?
No, this is supercomputing. It's where all the research networks. Look, when I was in Salt Lake a few years ago, I looked at the board of all the presentations. They were in English, and that's about the only thing I understood. The titles, I had no clue what that even possibly could mean.
It took place during SafeCon, so that's why a number of, like Jim Stewart was not as encouraged.
So I'm about to blow your mind, but our Instagram account that we have is Utah Education Network, all one word.
All spelled out.
Okay,
all spelled out.
Because UEN was taken, which I thought was rude.
And the person that's in charge of that is doing a fantastic job. So I'm sure she'd appreciate it.
I already feel more connected.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I was thinking about both what Rick was saying and about the social media, and I want to be someone who's sharing the information with my constituency. And so one thing I've seen before too is if there's going to be some kind of monthly newsletter or something sent out or occasional emails, sometimes it's nice to say, hey, do you want to help us share? And there's a pre-made social media share that your district or your group or your organization can just copy and paste. And anyway, to help us spread the UEN message as well, because we can obviously like and forward and all that stuff on your posts, but sometimes it's kind of nice and people will pay more attention when it comes from the accounts they're more familiar with from your district or whatever. So anyway.
Yeah, good feedback.
I will chime in and say I do think you guys are doing good communicating with like our advocate, James Brown. And you guys are always there at our conferences or putting on conferences. I feel like you do make a concerted effort to communicate. So
thank you. I'll pass that on.
All right. And our final question, this is another drawing activity. So you're going to rate these ideas for communicating with council members by either drawing a smiley face, a meh face, or a frowny face. Please vote for interpretive dance, just because I would love to see what Laura choreographs.
Right.
However, the rest of them you could decide on your own.
So she'd be the choreographer, but you'd be the dancer.
No,
right?
no. I don't get paid enough for that.
Right? Yeah.
That's also just to thank you for sticking around this long, I guess.
Even if you just want to put in the ones that you feel are the most useful smiley faces and the ones that you're definitely not into frowny faces. That will give us the information we need. And then always remember to click submit so we get that.
Smiley faces for you, Laura. My finger in the slide rule around words is not equal. It doesn't work. It requires some manual dexterity.
I'm not very good at those either.
I like that you click the tool and you do this and it does it for you. I have to draw it.
Oh, that's good enough.
My son uses iPads often in his class, and when we're practicing spelling words at home, he wants to do it on his iPad. And I have to say, his handwriting on his iPad is so much better than his handwriting on paper.
Well, I mean, I guess I
more
could have used my
dexterity.
finger. It is a surface. It's touch. I could have done that, but I didn't.
It is hard on the trackpad, though. Okay. Any other feedback? Is there anything else you'd like as part of this, Laura?
No, just a big thank you to both of you, Danny and
I would like a
Jared.
debrief real quick of just the experience of using Nearpod in a meeting. I have to admit, I have to rethink my whole strategy around Nearpod all of a sudden.
Right?
One, because this meeting was held with, half a dozen or so of us here in this room and twice as many people online. And that was really good.
I feel like it gives an equal participation experience because I think we know from, USET board meetings, for example, the people that are online, they have to work really hard to participate and be a part of the conversation.
Preach, sister.
Yeah. Whereas if you're using Nearpod, everyone kind of has an equal opportunity to participate.
And any of you that are online, what kind of feedback would you have?
No, I've really enjoyed this today. It's been great. Thanks for putting that together, Danny and Jared. And it's true. I sit on the USET board, and it is hard sometimes to people forget about the connected people joining in that are in the room, and it's okay. It happens, but this has been good to like Danny said, have that equal.
The interaction's great.
Opportunity to interact. Yeah.
I think even if you're hosting a meeting and everybody's in the same room, having everything on the same screen, it just increases the engagement of everybody. So, like I said, I have to rethink this whole thing now.
You can see the effort that you guys have put in to prepare for this, though, too. And I think I walk into too many meetings just shooting from the hip, right? So the preparation, I think, was obvious and helped. It was a good process.
Be thinking about this, because I'm going to go down and talk to Jennifer about this, and I think we'll be doing some kind of a similar presentation, because we are going to get the license for Nearpod for them, but just in the meetings that we have with curriculum directors, where we have a significant portion of the curriculum directors who are just listening in, that same way. I think when she sees this, be prepared to have to come and do some more training.
We'd love to. We always love helping our
I'll just add a couple other points about Nearpod itself. So obviously this is an activity that we created from scratch, but Nearpod also includes thousands of pre-made activities at all different levels. And they also partner with like the Smithsonian and NASA and some really high quality content providers to develop those. So an instructor could take those wholesale or take those and adapt them, or they could build from scratch like we did. And also it interfaces with Canvas very easily. So if you would like more information about it, you can email training@uen.org, and it has a 30-day trial. And I'm particularly interested in the higher ed version, and they tried to make sure that it doesn't have elementary look and feel, and change some of the terminology. But I'm interested in some feedback on that too. So thank you, everybody, and Danny and Jared especially.
Yeah, thank you. Now I gotta get back to where I was at. Oh, okay. Just a couple, 3 items, and we'll be wrapping up here. Next would be our UTTC update. Is there anything that either Ryan or Shelley that you would like to share?
I don't think we've had a meeting since our last meeting because we met in August right before, and our next meeting is coming up in November. I think the main thing, there are several things that we're going to talk about strategically, but a vote on portfolio will be, I guess, one of the main items that we're going to talk about on our agenda.
Okay.
And that's November 9th.
Yeah.
No, I take that back. It's next week. It's November 26th. Sorry.
Okay. I was going to say that might pass.
So that group and also the UTech colleges are looking at a portfolio tool to possibly add. So I don't know if that's of interest to high school teachers or not, but we're starting with.
I remember that discussion about 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
But included in this
It's about
is
time.
assessment tools, portfolio, and
Yeah.
there's one other tracking tool or something. There's 3 items in there that I know badging that we're.
I think the technology is probably, and the options have changed since then, that we could probably maybe do it this time.
Can I ask a question on that? So when you talk about high schools and the involvement, are we talking about trying to populate the portfolio with what they've completed, what they did
Artifacts.
in high school?
If that's useful to them. So I know for some courses like the AP and IB courses, for example,
Or concurrent
art
enrollment.
courses or concurrent enrollment, that they need to have a portfolio as part of their performance assessment. So since we are likely to have this statewide license, I'm not sure if we should add high schools into the license or give them the opportunity to opt in at a lower price. So that's what
It is a challenge for us to try to figure out. We do so much in G Suite. It is a bit of a challenge for the students to figure out when and how to take their artifacts with them. So I'd actually be interested in being part of the conversation. It is a challenge we have for our graduating kiddos.
Yeah, and Scott, to add to that, we've been very interested in Portfolium because it's part of Canvas basically now, and so we've talked to them a lot at the InstructureCon, but just with a focus on other things right now, we haven't actually gone in to pilot it. So we also would be very interested in learning more about Portfolium and exploring the possibilities there. So K-12 is interested.
Thank you. Or maybe 7-12.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? On those? If not, we'll go to the URSA update. And maybe this was just I think as an FYI that, and Jason, I know I think if you're still on, you may be able to speak to this, but just this is the Utah Rural Schools Association, and they received an update on a number of the resources that UEN is providing.
And I'm thinking that probably, did I attach that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, they talked about Nearpod, software funding, professional development, the ISTE certified educator and Canvas courses, UEN homeroom, and widgets for your website. So.
Yeah, so just a question of, we've been, promoting this and using it, I think, in all 4 of the regions. quite extensively, but just a question of, I had been told that there was discussion of maybe not renewing or looking to continue with the ISTE certified educator plan.
We're going to be committed to it for, at least for the, the near, we have to obviously look at, are we going to pay for something? I mean, there is a cost associated that we have to do. If nobody's taking advantage of it, if people are taking advantage of it, then we're going to continue it, so.
And
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I mean, we've pushed it really hard. And one of my initial concerns when it was announced is we already had a route for the ed tech endorsement and doing those things, and this was more of a high level thing. Our trainings, and we've sent several through it. Brandon just barely finished his here at Q's. I think there's several others in the state that have finished theirs. I would just give my feedback that we haven't been getting a lot of interest from teachers to pursue it, and we've really pushed it pretty hard. And I don't know how the other regions have pushed it, but I'm pretty sure that they pushed it just as diligently as we have. But we just haven't seen that buy-in for the ISTE certified educator as we did for the ed tech endorsement.
Yeah, I mean, they both end up at the same place with the ed tech endorsement, but the one, obviously, the ISTE one does carry a price tag for teachers too, $220, $230, and they're going to look at both of them, and most of them are going to gravitate towards that which is offered at no cost on that, which is fine. I don't have a preference one way or the other. I think that they're both excellent in what they do, and they both reach the same goal. There are some things I like about the ISTE one, and the fact that it does require a portfolio, and so that in essence, I have probably a greater degree of confidence that a teacher's I know that as they've gone through it, they've actually been doing things with their students. I think that's one of the highlights to it.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Rick. I'm just not, as I've talked with teachers and asked them about it, they've just felt that the route with the endorsements that had been put together before fit their needs a little bit better. And so I just wanted to give that feedback to you.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Trying to find out why they haven't been signing up for it and doing it. So.
Yeah, thank you. And just to clarify, so that's a year-to-year license for us to provide the ISTE certification program. We're a provider of that, and we just signed the agreement to renew for another year. So some districts are sending a coalition kind of test it out. So that's really good feedback, though, and we'll take that to Justin and others involved.
I will too. Okay. Last item is the council roundtable and any announcements. If any of you have things that you'd like to share from your constituent groups or have questions that you would like to have information researched and brought back, this would be a great time to do that. So I'll just leave the floor open for a minute to anything that you might want to share.
Thanks, Rick. I have something I'm bringing forward from my Chief Technical Officer. We have so many amazing resources and teacher things that are listed as professional development on the UEN page, but some of them require going into servers that are blocked in a lot of districts. A specific one is Steam, which is actually a gaming platform. And there is a teacher resource that's on the website that gives you this beautiful globe that you can manipulate and use with students, and it's a great thing. The problem is we had to open the Steam gaming platform for this teacher to use that software. And his argument was, but I got it off UEN, so you should open it for me. So we opened it to his classroom, but we're concerned about the ongoing effect of how many people, anyway, as you know, the gaming platforms are a concern for us on a lot of levels. The amount of bandwidth, the security in general, what are kids doing, how do I do this? Mm-hmm. So we were hoping that if it is something that would require a logon to an external server like that, or that would especially require students' personal identifiable information, if there could be a disclaimer on those that just said, please check with your district IT department and make sure that this falls within, you know, the pieces, because those are the two things that we've kind of run up against, is they go, because we're selling it hard, you know that I sell it hard in my district, but then they get there and then they're like, whoa, but we can't use this because it's on something that's either blocked or it requires student information and we have to nail it after the fact.
Helpful, thanks.
Yeah, we oftentimes at the state office, you know, they'll post things to YouTube, or teachers will specialists will recommend to YouTube something that's on YouTube, and we run into that same.
Yeah,
we run into that
we
same
have
problem.
YouTube open on the teacher computer, but not on the student.
Right, and that's exactly it. And then they say, well, the specialist, and So I think sometimes it's just a matter of, you know, our entity or this, you know, if there's things that are potentially in areas that could be, we have some kind of disclaimer there, or even some kind of an info, you know, a little, or some, you know, a little icon or something that just said, you know, that you need to check on this one.
Okay. Yeah. And just a little,
That's a great idea.
Is Midas on the table for this discussion?
Mm-hmm.
Just a little shout out for, that is really going pretty dang well. That's been a real benefit to our district, and we're really getting it down to the level that we hoped we could do that. So thanks, Rick, for your ongoing support of that. We trained all of our people the other day, and we aim to be the gold star users.
You are.
Yeah, it's really, the bugs are getting worked out. We keep finding them, bringing them to you, they get worked out. It's really going to be a tremendous program.
That's how that software stuff is.
Yeah,
it's
but you know, it's just, I mean, it's making it so easy for us to track all of our entities, the transcripts for professional growth. And what we're seeing then is that people are really beginning to take professional growth more seriously because it's on a transcript and it looks good.
So that's what Midas is. So
So it's for anything that's outside of the universities. So like I'll still have a reading endorsement that's an SUU, you know, transcript or Weber transcript, but things that I do in my district or I get credit through USBE, and sometimes it's USB credits, sometimes it's just hours for their ongoing licensure, but now it's all in one place. And it looks, and all of a sudden they are beginning, we're really talking about professional development plans, and you can see that plan in the Midas. It's been as anytime you adopt something new, you have rough spots, but we're really excited about how that's going. Thank you.
I have one thing. The state library recently finalized a contract with a company called Creative Bug, and it's an adult learning platform that has online courses for that are focusing on arts and crafts. And they describe it as an adult learning platform, but there's a lot of things on there for kids because it's designed for libraries to use the courses during their public programming for kids and teens and for people to use at home as well. So teachers across the state would be able to access it with their public library card as well, and should be able to find a lot of things in there to use in the classroom.
And it's super cool.
It's really cool. I learned how to make my first granny square the other night by going through a course. So
we're going to be helping do a promotion with what to do over the holidays with your kids or whatever.
Yeah, but it has anything from like sewing and making stained glass or art and design, and there's even a few business classes thrown in there. So once you learn a new skill, you can start a home business or
put it on Etsy.
Yeah, so we were really excited about that one. So that we'll be pushing that out to public libraries in the next week or so.
Will you say the URL one more time?
Creativebug.com.
Everybody get that?
Sorry, I've had just something that flashed that I had to quickly resolve there. Anything else? thank you all for your participation today. I'll give you 12 minutes of extra time to your day. Have a great day. Thanks again. Appreciate all those joining in.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, one and all.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll follow up with you on promotion ideas too. I think people will really like it.
Well, let me set up an appointment with you and I and their rep.
Oh,
for
good,
fall.
yeah.
Next week sometime, I think, or maybe, I don't know.
I saw it as close. Okay, thank you.
You guys, that was a terrific example of how to use that.
That was wonderful. Thank you, thank you.
I mean, I've done it a couple of times, but that really expanded how I thought about using it now.
Good, yeah.
And I'm looking at some of those same kinds of documents, so. I'm just gonna be stealing that idea, but that's all I ever do is steal from smart
That's
people.
what we do in education, background
That's
open
right.
steal.
Yeah, I was gonna say, open education is about sharing,
That's
not
right.
stealing.
That's right, I survive on open education.
Rick, I got a message. There's a teacher in the atrium that insists on getting some support with Google SketchUp.
I'm just responding back to it.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. I just sent her a note. That was the same thing.
Okay.
I'll look for her when I'm out there.
Apparently she's refusing to leave Tesco.
Well,
But since that's it, that's your thing.
well, the issue is that SketchUp is available to schools for free. And and I gotta look at it, I probably got another email here. But in the past, they just used to send the license codes. It's about $1,000 a seat license for SketchUp, but they give it to schools for free. The trouble is that people were sharing those codes with people outside of education. So technically, they came up with a solution that on the surface seems to be quite easy, but it's really not. It's time consuming for somebody, and nobody has, I've offered it because it was known, it was not a big deal to offer, because I would just send out the codes. Well, now what they're doing is they are requiring that you have to install it from a whitelisted IP address. Okay, so
So probably in one of our buildings.
well, any building in this, but it's getting, you have to upload all of you have to upload all the IP addresses by district to their site. So I've been working with Jeff and Jesse to get that taken care of. And it's a much more complicated
Your meeting has